Finishing, the emperor walked away with a swish of his sleeves. Surviving this ordeal, the general crawled up from the ground with a furious expression. This godforsaken thief. He could hide from the eyes of this general and sneak in here. Equivalent to moving against the lord of this place. I must capture you and grind your bones to dust. Raising his head, he saw his guards shivering in fear from the side. This caused him to become further angered. What you still idling around for? All of you, go search for me. Seal all the gates and search the entire city household by household. We must capture that little thief. As she hid in the corner, Huang Yuli held her breath and decreased her presence. Inwardly she prayed that General Tian would quickly bring his subordinates out to search. Afterwards, she would be able to flee in the chaos. The sounds of their footsteps softened, as they left the 4th floor. Before she could let out a sigh of relief, she heard someone speak. Wait. General Tian, please wait a moment. Imperial tutor, may I ask, don't be in such a hurry to leave. This thieving person, he may be still hidden within the royal treasury. Yet to leave. When Huang Yuli heard this analysis, a very bad premonition arose. Imperial tutor is one of the 2 peak experts of South Yu. At the 4th stage, the Dan Profound Realm. She did not expect the emperor to bring him over as well. This caused the tables to be greatly in their favor. For her current concealment skill she was using, it would be ineffective towards those who were 4 stages above her in cultivation. Bluntly, her current tricks would be no longer useful in the face of this Dan Profound expert. As long as the imperial tutor used a bit of consciousness, he would immediately be able to detect her presence. These bloodstains are still fresh. They have yet to completely dry up. Mostly likely, shortly after this thief made his move and before he could escape, we arrived. Thus, he should still be in the vicinity. As the Imperial spoke out his analysis, his body suddenly shook and turned towards Huang Yuli's direction. Little thief. I know you are there, so hurry up and reveal yourself. Knowing she would not be able to escape, she openly said, Lord Imperial Tutor, you really are intelligent. Nothing can be hidden from your eyes. As she dragged out her words, a flurry of daggers flew out from her hands. Not good. This thief is too treacherous, everyone look out. General Tian cried out. The Imperial Tutor sneered, these petty tricks are your last struggles on the deathbed. It seems that you will not shed your tears unless you meet your grave. Striding out, he intended to personally take action and capture this thief. Unfortunately, those flying daggers were not aimed in his direction. Instead, they flew straight towards the great doors of the treasure room. Embedded deeply into the walls and floor of the room, many mechanisms were instantly activated. Crash! Fire spewed from several openings, turning the closest guards into balls of flame. Even the Imperial Tutor's beard was set afire. Save me! Save me! Where did the fire come from? Hurry and extinguish the fire. Before the fire was extinguished, the floor in front of the treasure room collapsed on itself. Other guards fell into the hole. Ah! Save me, ah! God! What is going on? The scene was in total chaos. While Huang Yuli took the opportunity and went down the stairs, bolting to the exit. You can also listen on. More than half of his treasured silvery long had been destroyed. Since he became the Imperial Tutor, he had never suffered such humiliation. This thief had sky-high courage, daring to trespass into the royal treasury and playing with him like this. Don't let this senior catch you, otherwise, clenching his teeth, the Imperial Tutor stated. Run! 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 In a blink of an eye, both of them had ran 10 li. At this point, Huang Yuli had spent nearly all her energy, while the imperial tutor was still brimming with vigor. His breaths were long and drawn out, not the slightest bit of fatigue could be seen. As the distance between the two gradually shortened, a sinister smile began to slip onto the imperial tutor's face. Still running? Let's see where you can escape to. You can also listen on. As the various profound armaments Huang Yuli had brought were nearly depleted, she had yet to lose the imperial tutor. Finally, she began to feel traces of panic. As the #1 armament master, a stately 9th-grade peak talent, was she Huang Yuli about to meet her end today at the hands of a 4th-staged old man? If word were to spread out, she would become a great joke. In her worldly journeys, she had already experienced countless brushes with death as if a cat with 9 lives. So in such a desperate situation, she could still coolly analyze her surroundings. Without noticing, the two people had run all the way to the outer wall of the royal palace. Her eye flashing, Huang Yuli suddenly retrieved the sleeping little phoenix from inside the sky phoenix ring. The sky, the earth, little Wang Kai, please hurry up and shoot fire. Today this elder sister will rely on you to survive. Hurry and breathe out a large breath of fire. As Wang Kai was currently in his crucial stage of infancy. In order to mature fully, he must sleep a full 16 hours each day. So during the middle of night, it would be the point where he slept most deeply. While in the throes of sleep, the little suddenly experienced a change in sharp drop temperature. Groggily regaining conscious, he discovered he was in Huang Yuli's arms. UNN. This female devil, why was she disturbing someone's sleep? They wouldn't be able to grow nice and tall. Before he could complain, he saw a purple-faced old man appear in his line of sight. His shriveled arm reaching out towards him. Aw, 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 aw. Mummy, save me. This old man looks so scary. In fright, the little opened his mouth and puffed out a flame of true fire. Ah, what is this strange thing? So painful, so painful. Why can't I extinguish this fire? As the imperial tutor was being burned by the fire, she leaped over the wall. Writhing in agony on the ground, mud smeared onto the imperial tutor's entire body. Due to the little phoenix's immaturity, the density of his true fire had yet to reach peak levels. After consuming a few pills and moving his profound chi, the imperial tutor then used quite a few skills to finally put out the fire. Hastily turning his head, he discovered the thief had dared to jump into the territory of the royal palace. Hesitating momentarily, he decided to follow suit. Unfortunately, fortune was not with the imperial tutor. He had landed perfectly into the nails Huang Yuli had set. He couldn't help himself but wail out loudly. For such a scream to erupt out in the royal palace during night, it attracted the attention of all the surrounding patrol guards. Who is it? Who dares to shout so loudly within the royal palace? Not good. Someone has jumped the fence. It's definitely an assassin. Call for assistance to capture the assassin. The responses of the royal palace guards were extremely fast. Echoing each other, a large group of reinforcements quickly arrived at the scene and surrounded the imperial tutor. In pain and fury, the imperial tutor vigorously cried out, "Scram to the side for this senior. Can you not see who this senior is? Your dog eyes are blind." Contrary to what the imperial tutor predicted, the vast majority of guards did not know who this bellowing man was. All they saw was a tattered clothed old man covered in injuries. While his face seemed fiendish, clearly displaying that he was not a good person. Suspicious. Too suspicious. Because the imperial tutor was too focused in capturing that thief, he constantly cursed with words such as kill and death. Due to this, the various guards blocked his path. So in a fit of rage, he inflicted heavy injuries upon a few nearby guards accidentally. This move was equivalent to hitting the hornet's nest. Ha! He dares to kill. He definitely is an assassin. Capture him and obtain revenge for our fallen brothers. Everyone, do not be afraid. Let us charge together. The guards shouted and attacked together. Although the imperial tutor could easily kill them with a single blow, he did not and could not. They, after all, were the imperial guards of the royal palace. Arms and legs tied down, both sides became deeply tangled, unable to come to an end. You can also listen on. In the midst of this chaos, Huang Yuli stealthily moved along the wall in search of a hiding place. During the night, the royal palace was tranquilly quiet. Even if the occasional eunuch or palace maid were to walk by, they would lightly step while carrying their lanterns. Calmly she avoided them as she went towards a more secluded location. Just as she was about to pass through a corridor, suddenly a large force came from behind her, pulling Huang Yuli into the room. Huang Yuli would have never thought that there would be someone so powerful ambushing her. Without any notice or sign, she did not sense any presences nearby. By the time she could react, she was already pressed against the door, while both her wrists were locked down by an iron vice grip above her head. The strong silhouette of man pressed down upon her, closing the distance between the two to nothing. Who are you? Release, as Huang Yuli furiously commanded. Her lips were sealed, unable to continue speaking or breathe properly. This was a very forceful and hot kiss. The man's thin lips enveloped her cherry lips, massaging and then, using a bit of force, he bit the corners of her mouth. Taking the opportunity while her lips were parted in pain, his tongue invaded inside and began to ravage her sweet tunnel. All of Huang Yuli's attempts to resist were easily pushed aside by the man. With the man's overpowering strength, she found herself unable to resist or lever herself in the slightest. Huang Yuli's awareness gradually became blurred as the man's strong smell and breath as it merged with her short breaths. For some inexplicable reason, this unbridled and insanely powerful man gave her a sense of familiarity. Lying within the man's embrace, that kiss and dizzying scent reminded her of her past life. Just as she was about to suffocate, the man released her lips from his grasp. Moving down, he began to nibble on her slender neck. Raising her head, Huang Yuli gulped in large breaths of air and slowly recovered awareness. At this time, the man's trailing kisses had traveled down to her collarbone. You, pervert! Who are you? What do you intend to do? Release me! Using all her strength she wriggled and shook her body to escape his grasp. But the man remained as stable as Mount Tai, standing completely still. Helplessly and left with no resort, she turned to glaring venomously. In the darkness of the room, she could only vaguely make out the electrically sharp reflections of his eyes. Pervert! Clearly you felt quite good from this seat's kiss. But as soon as I left go, you turn against me. A familiar husky voice echoed beside her ear. It's you! Huang Yuli cried out in surprise. Chuckling lowly, the man went to light up the nearby oil lamp. Instantly, the room lit up brightly. The man who forcibly kissed her had turned out to be the master of Thousand Treasure Pavilion. Gnashing her teeth angrily, she fiercely glared toward him and said, You, why are you here? Why must you follow me around? And committing such things on me? What things? He wickedly smiled at her. So angered, Huang Yuli wanted to butt him. Must you act this way? Who would have thought, after all the airs you had placed, you turned out to be a pervert? You actually forcibly kissed me, wantonly, the Lord Owner observed her tender cheeks. Due to her anger, a rosy hue had appeared on them, while the flames of anger lit up her dazzling eyes. You can also listen on. A little fox brimming with fatality. Her angry appearance was especially cute. Facing her fierce eyes, a touch of an evil smile appeared on the man's face. Little thing, do not wrongly accuse this seat. First of all, that was not a forced kiss because you also enjoyed it. Secondly, this seat is not a pervert. Towards this one's future wife, it is reasonable and legitimate. If you slander this seat, he does not mind using your own methods to teach you how to properly speak to her man. Understood? Fuck, really shameless. Although Huang Yuli was stunned by his shameless, rage soon rose within her heart. What she found most annoying was this kind of self-righteousness. Because he was a man, did he believe that he held the qualifications to take possession of her? Who did he think he was? The reason as to why she had been unable to accept Mu Qingying in her past life was all due to his hateful and overbearing style. She did not expect to meet such a tyrannical and arrogant man, so shortly after her rebirth. Huang Yuli frostily looked away from his eyes. I'll say it again, let me go. Before the man felt enough satisfaction from his teasings, he was unexpectedly faced with this little thing's sudden gloominess. As if she'd truly been angered this time. His heart shivering, the man thought of what to say to appease her. Suddenly sensing danger, he intuitively backed away. Taking the moment of temporary lapse in attention, Huang Yuli took the chance to attack out. A flying dagger flew closely by his face and embedded itself firmly into the wall behind him. A little closer and his handsome face would have been ruined. Stroking his almost sliced chin, the man helplessly shook his head. This little fox really is too rebellious. In front of her, he could not lower his guard in the slightest. Just a little bit of careless and he would be assaulted. Being together with her was just a bit too stimulating. Although she cannot hurt the man, but she broke free from his shackles, restoring her freedom. Walking back a few steps and hands clutching her chest, she coldly stared at the man. I said, do not touch me. Okay. Not touching, not touching. He raised his hands in surrender. You do not have to be so fierce. Your request, this seat will promise, if she was not fierce, this man pull her nose from place to place. Still as cold as before, Huang Yuli questioned, I ask you, why are you here? Are you trailing me? The man sat on the side of the soft couch. His collar was in disorder, but he did not hold any intention to fix up his clothing. He said lazily, you have the nerve to say that. After the auction, this seat told you to obediently wait for me. How could you slip away by yourself? Huang Yuli retorted, wait for you to do what? Lord Owner, you were very busy so I did not wish to disturb you. Since I knew the way home, I did not bother you further. Those words were full of opposition. Listening to her response, the man felt sour. Must you so distantly refuse someone? Towards bad and villainous males, this has always been the attitude I show. Lifting her chin, Huang Yuli replied to him. Oh. He blatantly chuckled, do not confuse this seat with those scheming men. After all, you have no color, you. Huang Yuli nearly from anger again. Harshly she glared at him, what is your intention? Since you are not scheming, what is your aim from following me? You can also listen on. Fixing his gaze on her for a while, he helplessly shook his head. So heartless you are, little thing. If you are looking for Flame Cloud Pearl, why did you not tell this seat? Huang Yuli raised her eyebrows, why should I tell you? This is my own thing, no relation with you. I can handle it myself. Besides, if I do tell you, can you obtain the Flame Cloud Pearl for me? Your so-called handle it yourself, is running around like a street mouse, chased so madly. He asked in a tone filled with mockery. You saw that. From which moment did you start following me? Huang Yuli never thought that such an embarrassing affair would be witnessed by this annoying man. One could not convey how embarrassed she felt. Looking at the man's ghost of a smile, she felt her heart stop. The man looked at her expression on her little face with satisfaction. He took pleasure to see this black-bellied, cunning, little fox become defeated like so. Discovering this small fox's eyes become more and more brutal, men had touched the nose and decided it was enough. In fact, the day you left Thousand Treasure Pavilion, when this seat asked the manager's son, he mentioned that you wished to buy some herbs. He also said that you lacked the Flame Cloud Pearl. Knowing your character, this seat predicted you would charge straight into the royal treasury to take the Flame Cloud Pearl. I have been secretly paying attention to your movements recently. After you left your back courtyard, this seat followed from behind to protect you. Even though he explained himself, Huang Yuli just became more angry. So you've been tracking me for days. Like this seat has said, this is not tracking, but to protect you. Fortunately, you are more careful than predicted. Observing you for past several days, you made quite a bit of preparations. Although you are not lucky, little thing, you have quite a lot of tricks up your sleeve. Even the country's fourth stage master was played around in circles by you. Furthermore, you seem to know all of the hidden traps and mechanisms like the back of your hand. The Lord Owner's eyes revealed his appreciation. The more he saw her, the more satisfied he became with this little fox. Worthy of his praise. Every time they met, she would have new aspects of admiration. And more of her extraordinary talent was revealed. Just like a pearl hidden in the dust. Unusually dazzling, simply not like a genius the small country of South Yu could give birth to. Listening to his eloquence, Huang Yuli's rising chest of the anger burned hotter and hotter. She finally could not help herself, going on for half a day. You have just been watching me make a fool of myself. You clearly witnessed my embarrassing blunder, but refused to help. Watching on from the side. This seat saw you handled everything very well. Not even a single strand of hair was hurt. Is there a need for this seat to intervene? The man faintly glanced at her, and continued, furthermore, did you not just say that your affairs have nothing to do with this seat? Because this seat respects your opinion, he did not make a move. Instead, you should be thanking this seat, no? Phoenix Yuli's eyes were wide open. He actually used her previous words against her. Although she did not ask the man to help her steal the Flame Cloud Pearl, but he had already come. And he just watched her sorry struggles from the side. Is this a bit too vile? He still dared to say he liked her. You intentionally did that. Grinding her teeth, Huang Yuli spat out. He laughed like a ruffian. So what if this seat intentionally acted like so? What, do you intend to bite me? You can also listen on. He deliberately spoke as slow as possible, dragging out the vth syllable. As his gaze landed on Huang Yuli's tender pink cheeks, he smiled demonically. Huang Yuli returned with her furious glare, in your dreams. Your skin is both rough and thick, even if all of my teeth fall out, I will not bite you. Since your skin is this thick, why don't you take a walk around Dark Moon Forest? After a stroll, I guarantee that a large number of demonic beasts will fight each other to bite you. Bite you till not even bone dust will remain. As the man watched her seething expression, he shook his head in amusement. This little fox, in other places she was very smart, but was quite slow in this aspect. She did not catch his hidden meaning. But this was good. In the coming future, he will properly teach her to make her willingly go and satisfy him. As he smiled, he went to appease the hair-standing little fox. Fine, don't be angry anymore. Clearly it was you in the wrong. If you had informed this seat earlier, conveying your intentions to find a Flame Cloud Pearl, this seat would have personally gone and obtained one for you. And then, you would not have to be chased and run away so madly. Even if I didn't have you, haven't I successfully obtained the Flame Cloud Pearl? Proudly, Huang Yuli raised her chin and the Flame Cloud Pearl. The pearl's dark red color held great depth of color. The faint glow it cast also alluded the deep red color to that of dried blood. The man could not tear his eyes away from the little fox's proud and arrogant manner. Her expressions lit up her entire being. With a smile full of his indulgence and affection, the Lord Owner did not break her fantasy. In truth, the imperial tutor had not been the only one chasing after Huang Yuli tonight. In fact, another fourth-staged master, the Emperor's third uncle, had been alerted. But the Lord Owner's people easily dealt with this third uncle. Through their intervention, Huang Yuli able to escape without a hitch. Otherwise, no matter how abundant her tricks were, she would be greatly exhausted and out of her wits to escape the pursuit of two profound realm practitioners. She would not be able to stand in this room without a single hair harmed. The man loved to see her in glowing spirits, so he did not choose to break her illusion. Instead, he shifted his gaze from her to the Flame Cloud Pearl within her hand. So this is the Flame Cloud Pearl. Are you kidding me? She raised her eyebrow questioningly. With your status and power, you have not seen a Flame Cloud Pearl. The man disapprovingly replied, this seat is neither an armament master or an alchemist. Why did I need to recognize this thing? It is only a 6th rank material. Towards materials such as these, only 9th rank ones are able to capture this seat's interest and acknowledgement. Speechless, Huang Yuli was stunned from his words. Those words, they sounded a bit familiar. A long time ago, Mu Qingying seemed to have also said those very words to her. When she recalled that man who had come to save her, a sour feeling arose within her heart. Her train of thought traveled to those times. Back then, the two often went outside to explore various secret territories. When Huang Yuli saw high-leveled materials, it would break her heart to leave without them. She insisted on digging up every nook and cranny, in order to bring all the precious resources away with her. While Mu Qingying used the same disapproving tone to say, isn't it just a piece of rock? Why must you insist on taking it? Do you know how dangerous it is? But these are high-ranked materials for armament masters. What rock? Don't you have the least bit of knowledge? Huang Yuli would roll her eyes in response. Armament refining delays cultivation. I have no interest. In any case, as long as you have enough power, you would easily find someone weaker than you to protect. For those armament master who need protection, you can ask them to make the appropriate armaments. As he said this, Mu Qingying deliberately swept his gaze over her. It was quite clear that in his eyes, she was a weak armament master who need protection. You can also listen on. Huang Yuli flared up on the spot. If you have the ability, don't come and ask me to refine armaments for you in the future. After all, you look down on armament masters. Angry. Through what eyes do you see my anger? I just don't want to see you anymore, so scram. Touching his nose, Mu Qingying felt somewhat bad. He really liked Huang Yuli's adorable arrogance, so whenever he found the opportunity, he loved to provoke her. But if she really became angry and refused to acknowledge him, his heart would then feel sore. As a result, he could only go back and quickly admit his wrongs. Little fox, don't be angry. I was wrong, okay? Hurry and scram. Who is your little fox? Every single time, the two would erupt into a quarrel and the end result was the same each time. Mu Qingying would suffer and face all sorts of dangerous and life-threatening conditions to retrieve the various materials, regardless of the criticisms he received. Bulging with items, he would then deliver them into Huang Yuli's hands, all to obtain her forgiveness. When Huang Yuli recalled such events, a smile formed on her lips while her heart turned heavy. Nowadays, the two people were separated thousands of mountains and tens of thousands of seas. She wondered about Mu Qingying's fate. But the man's sudden sound interrupted her thoughts. Little thing, why are you spacing out again? Did you turn dumb? Regaining her awareness, she realized that she had turned dazed in front of Thousand Treasure Pavilion's owner. She couldn't help but feel a bit awkward. Flattening her lips, she passed over her actions. Che, it's you who became dumb. Not learning skills, you hold the best reasonings. Noticing that her current state was not right, the man became suspicious. This little thing seemed to hold secrets that he could not see through. Sneering slightly, then please tell me, what are the uses of the flame cloud pearl? Could it be you plan to use it to refine some uncommon armament? But this is a 6th ranked material, are you able to refine 6th leveled armaments? Huang Yulik shook her head in response. The reason why I needed this flame cloud pearl is not for refining purposes, but for myself. Completing her explanation, she turned head to inspect the outside area. Okay then, since we have finished our conversation, it is time for me to leave. Tonight, I will treat it as if I were bitten by a dog. But don't dream to gaining any more liberties from me. Otherwise, I will definitely make you see unsightliness. You say I am a dog. Nodding his eyebrows in displeasure, he took a step forward with intentions to capture this arrogant little fox. Retreating backwards, Huang Yulit slipped through his control range. However, just as her hands grazed the door handle, clamorous shouts echoed from outside the room. The Bright Flower Palace shall be searched by the 3rd Squadron of the Golden Scaled Guards. The 4th Squadron will go to the Temple of Longevity. 5th Squadron, the Imperial Tutor has conveyed his intentions, we must carefully inspect all rooms. That sky-reaching courage thief must still be in the Royal Palace. No matter what, he must be captured. If we are to allow his escape, everyone in the Golden Scaled Guards from top to bottom must receive punishment. Understand? Yes. Obey the General's commands. This subordinate receives the order. Go and search. Each of the respective squadron captains went to execute their commands, scattering swiftly in all directions to begin their search. Although the palace Huang Yuli and the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion seemed cold and lifeless, it had already been surrounded. As the Golden Scaled Guard's footsteps neared, the sound of the door knocking echoed along with the shrieks and screams of various eunuchs and palace maids being awoken. Everything was transmitted over while also gradually increasing in volume. Halting her steps, Huang Yuli's expression turned solemn. It was all this damned man's fault. His forced kiss delayed her, while the various palaces and temples had all been surrounded. It was not reasonable for her to directly charge out. She must find another way. You can also listen on. Opening the door slightly, Huang Yuli secretly looked out. In the quiet palace, chickens were flying and dogs jumping. The lights in each room began to light up, looking very strange. If she were to continue to remain here, she could only become more and more passive. Making a decision in a split second, Huang Yuli prepared herself to rush out of the palace, mixing in the various palace ladies to look for potential opportunities of escape. Although it was extremely dangerous to go out now, it was better than staying inside and waiting. For those Golden Scaled Guards, it would only be a matter of time before they found the room where she is hiding in. Stripping off her night clothes, she suddenly went to pull open the door with intentions to go out. However, no movement. Why did the door refuse to move? She froze and then lifted her to see the Lord Owner had unknowingly appeared behind her. His slender strong hands were gently pressed against the door, not allowing her to open it. Huang Yuli sighed out exasperatedly, what do you want to do it? Hurry up and move aside. If I don't leave now, it would be too late. What is the rush? The man said lazily. Although he was gazing at the little thing's fierce glare, he did not seem to sense her urgency. "You're not anxious, but I am." Huang Yuli exploded from anger. "If they were to find us later, how will you deal with it?" Nonchalantly the Lord Owner replied, "With no other choice, we can just kill our way out. These guards are but at the second stage. With a single move from this seat, they will all perish." Huang Yuli naturally would not question this man's ability. But if he were to really kill in the royal palace, only more trouble will arise. Although she did not care about the options of South Yu's emperor, but she still needed to stay in South Yu for some time. It would not be beneficial for her if the city were to be engulfed in wind and rain, no good for her. If martial law would be then strictly enforced on the street, it would cause difficulties for her to sell her goods in the future. Unless she no choice but to use this last resort, she would prefer to find other methods. "Has this row of rooms been searched?" "This is the resting palace of His Highness, so no one has ever lived, all the more reason to search. The thief will definitely hide in a room without anyone. But, what if that His Highness returns and found out that we broke in? He is not here anyway. Do be so wordy and quickly go search." The search of a nearby room being searched could be heard. The guard in charge of the search was only 10 meters away from them. Very worried, Huang Yuli attempted to forcibly pull open the door again. "Quickly let me out." He lowered his head and gazed at the little thing's drum's adorable and prideful puffed cheeks. A smile flashed in his eyes. His right hand still pressed on the door, while the left hand moved down to hook Huang Yuli's waist. In a low voice, he whispered into her ear, "Little thing, do you not believe that this seat can protect you?" His sexily tempting voice sounded, as his thin lips gently blew hot air into her ear. Huang Yuli's ears uncontrollably heated up. She leaned against the door, face flushed while her heart cursed this man for being both shameless and senseless. At this time, he continued to act in such an ambiguous. He thought it would make her obedient from guilt. She will not be confused. Huang Yuli pursed her lips. "I do not need your protect." Her statement dropped off when she heard the loud voices of the golden-scaled guards sound from outside the room. "What's the matter? There are people in this room. Did you not say there are no people living in this row of rooms? Who is inside then? Quickly open the door. Catch that assassin and search every room. If you do not open the door, we will forcibly make our way inside. You can also listen on." The moment the guard spoke out, Huang Yu pushed the man's chest. This forced him to fall into the couch on the side. Men did not think she would do such a move, so he was frozen for a moment. "Little thing, your actions, do you wish to become pregnant?" "Oh." Sweet and soft lips planted themselves on his own lips, cutting off his unfinished words. The man's face showed a rare expression of astonishment. No matter what, he would have never expected he would go down such a peachy road. Usually, just a touch of the hair would cause his little fox to avoid him in fear. But now not only had she pushed him down, her entire person had dropped into his arms, such a proactive action it was. As her sweet female scent lingered in at the tip of his nose, her soft body fit snugly into his arms. The Lord Owner stretched out a strong and powerful arm and tightly hugged the little fox within his arms. That slender waist of hers seemed so thin that it would easily snap if he used too much strength. Different from the usual brandish of claws, her cunning and arrogant look, the little fox in his arms, so small, so soft, even in front of his strength, there was not the slightest bit of resistance. Such a large contrast to her usual actions caused the man's heart to suddenly burn up with emotions. Although the Huang Yuli took the initiative, she only lightly placed her lips on his. After that, she did not move at all. Completely missing the main point, the man felt quite distressed. Strengthening his grip on Huang Yuli's arm, he changed from a passive position to the more active role as he began to nibble on Huang Yuli's lips. Taking advantage of her burst of pain, his tongue went straight inside and explored her mouth wantonly without restraint. The hot kiss was strong, overbearing and arrogant. Huang Yuli uttered a cry, wishing to withdraw but could not. Bang! 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 With some loud noises, the golden-scaled guard shouted a few times more at the door. Without waiting for an answer, he directly opened the door. Although the door was constructed from solid wood, it was capable of withstanding the blow of the practitioners from the defensive profound realm or higher. Very soon, it was kicked open. Who is hiding in the room? Hurry up and come out. Search, search. Under orders of the king, those daring to harbor assassins will all be beheaded in public. The golden-scaled guard strode in with large, arrogant steps. Guys, hurry up and look at what this illicit couple is doing. Wow, this is... What palace are you from? Such great courage. Daring to conduct an affair within the royal palace. In a moment of desperation, Huang Yuli had directly kissed the lord owner. For that was the only method she was able to think of. Because the golden-scaled guards had forbidden any palace maids and eunuchs to leave their rooms in order to facilitate with their search. It was already very suspicious being together with the lord owner. They would definitely be arrested on the spot. But with their current actions, they could pass off as a couple hiding in an uninhabited room for their little love affair. Relationships between palace ladies and guards is a very common thing. Although it is a violation of palace rules, with its punishments, it would be better than being exposed. And because the golden-scaled guards would be too busy catching the little thief, they would have no time to deal with them. At most they would be arrested and locked in the punishment hall. And those places simply could not hinder them. It would be a trifling task for them to escape. Although it was the only idea Huang Yuli could think at the moment, but it was very suitable. The only depressing thing, the man had took the opportunity to eat her tofu again. Unceremoniously, she had been thoroughly kissed again. You can also listen on. This strong and warm kiss was filled with unusual suggestions. This caused her legs to soften and her brain also turned into paste. Huang Yuli simply could not believe that she would turn into a love-struck fool. A simple kiss from this man was able to change her completely out of character. If the golden-scaled guards weren't about to enter, then... She let out a groaning sound and felt that her entire body was not feeling too well. You too. Hurry up and get out. Hands on your head and stand over there. Private affair, a violation of palace rules. You two male and female dogs, your courage is not small. You can say that your luck is quite bad today. Go to the punishment hall and report yourselves. The golden-scaled guard loudly berated them. Several despicable gazes fell onto Huang Yuli's body, sizing her body from top to bottom. Afterwards, filthy comments spewed out from their mouths. TSK, speaking of which, this woman's age seems very small. Hasn't reached marriageable age. So small and already yearning for a man. Truly not a good thing. Her looks, however underdeveloped, are so tender. She must taste special. There was a more courageous guard who took a few steps forward and chuckled. Little girl, with your fine skin and tender meat, if you were to fall into the hands of the punishment hall, I am afraid your life is over. Go to accompany our brothers to play and maybe, if my brothers feel well, we'll let you go. As he said this, the golden-scaled guard standing at the edge began to chuckle and laugh out. A frosty gleam flashed through Huang Yuli's eyes. Such words, shameless to the extreme. But her current priority was to leave. So unfortunately, she could not immediately attack. This account though, she will remember and settle it at a later date. Her cold eyes swept through the bunch of arrogant golden-scaled guards, imprinting their faces firmly into her mind. Afterwards, she immediately put on a delicate and charming look, instantly turning into a weak white lotus. Her eyes were tearful while her lips trembled. You do not come." Seeing her act this, the group of people only laughed louder. Look at both of them holding each other, so reluctant to separate. They will not shed tears until they see their coffin. Hurry up and come over here. Send 2 people to escort them to the punishment hall. Pushing away the man in front of her, Huang Yuli prepared to climb down from the imperial consort's bed. But who knew the man's chest would be as rigid as iron walls, hard and solid, not shaking in the slightest. She forcefully pushed a few more times, but was still unable to make him move. Huang Yuli's face turned green. This man, what schemes was he up to this time? At a time like this, he was still dragging her hind leg. Hey you, she looked up at him, and then turned blank. The man's cold lips were tightly pursed together, his jaw tight, clearly displaying the unsuppressed rage within. His body's internal pressure instantly released itself and covered the entire room in his profound chi. Restless and with strong momentum, overwhelming everyone present. Pooh! 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 The golden-scaled guards within the room immediately spewed out mouthfuls of blood while their legs softened. They all knelt to the ground. But the man's pressure still continued to increase. The golden-scaled guards felt the pressure within their minds become lower and lower as their knees buckled to the ground, their bodies constantly trembling. The voice of the Lord Owner was like ice, like it had been transmitted from far, far away. Dare to take liberties with this seat's woman. Courting death. In the next moment, the golden-scaled guard who had spoken impertinently to Huang Yuli cried out in a blood-curdling manner. His blood splashed out. You can also listen on. Ah! So painful, painful. Help me. Save me. My hand, my hand. Blood, so much blood. Bursts of screams echoed into the midnight. Hearing those ghastly cries during such a dark and cold night was particularly frightening. As he gradually lessened the pressure, the remaining golden-scaled guards could finally raise their heads. Pale-faced, they looked at him in fright, all on the verge of collapse. They only saw the severed hands and feet of the men who had attempted to take liberties with Huang Yuli lying on the ground. As they lay spasming on the ground, their blood gushed out, creating small pools around them. But this is not the most scary part. What was even more frightening, their nether regions had become plies of mashed-up flesh. Clearly, they had all become eunuchs without consent. For a warrior, broken hands were not rare. But to be so directly attacked in such a place, no man could stop cold sweat from appearing on their backs. Ugh! Someone vomited onto the ground in front of them. The rest did not vomit, but their bodies had all turned stiff, not daring to move about. They fear angering the devil in front of them. No matter how much they thought, they did not understand why such a terrifying person would appear in such a secluded location. Were they not just a little couple in the midst of their affair? The female looked pure, while the male, although not a member of the golden-scaled guards, should be an ordinary palace guard. Ordinary palace guards would at most hold cultivations around the 8th-9th level of the Qi Profound Realm. Incomparable to them, say nothing to their entire squadron. They actually had been pressured to ground, unable to rise up. Quite obviously, one move from him would be able to wipe out everyone present. The Lord Owner swiftly glanced down at the kneeling golden-scaled guards. Wherever he looked, he was met with silence and fear of offending him. Even those guards whose limbs had been severed, did not dare to utter a single moan again. They could only painfully lie on the ground. In such a gloomy, cold atmosphere, there was still a voice to who dared break the silence. "Hey, can you let me go now? Hurry up and let me go down. Also, I am not your woman. Don't you dare speak nonsense." Completely ignoring his cold expression, Wang Yuli twisted her body and pushed him hard. Kneeling at the door, the golden-scaled guards drew cold breaths. Did this woman lack brains or something? In front of such a demon, she dare speak so presumptuously. Not only was this man immensely powerful, but he also looks to be the cold and relentless type. To provoke such a person, even if you were his woman, there would be no good fruit to eat. However, the reaction of the Lord Owner was not how they expected. His grip on her waist was still firm, while his line of sight slowly moved down from her flashing eyes, sweeping past that tiny nose and falling lightly onto the mouth. He whispered, "If you don't stop talking, I will kiss you." What? Dream onl. At such a time, your brain, woo 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 woo. He knew this little thing could not take the stimulation. In all, he had warned her. If this little thing must go against him, then she couldn't blame him, right? Hooking his lips, the man sealed her mouth to block all protests. Huang Yuli's face turned red immediately. She could not believe this man would perform such actions in public. You can also listen on. Furthermore, the current room was filled with the stench of blood. The injured golden-scaled guards' groans were still as faint as before, while the rest of the guards continued to kneel in silence. In this atmosphere, he could continue to kiss. Against all odds, reality showed that he really dared. Clasping her waist, he stopped all her struggles and resistance as he wantonly kissed her. As their lips intertwined, he repeatedly bit her tongue as punishment. And in her brief moments of pain, he also licked her to soothe her wounds. Almost out of breath by the kiss, Wang Yuli still managed to retain a bit of her consciousness. Knowing what she needed do, she mercilessly threw him off. To no avail, she did not have enough power. At this point, cries traveled from the entrance of the palace, "Where is he? How come there is no report from Clearflower Palace? Weren't the 3rd Squadron sent to search there? Where did they wander off to fish? 3rd Squadron Captain, hurry up and to report to your commanding officer." Hearing those bellows, Wang Yuli attempted to push him away again. On. Let me go. You random lustful pig. The man still continued to kiss her as if they were the only two people. Kneeling at the door, those golden-scaled guards shivered. Although they were determined to escape to their commander for help, no one dared to move. The harsh reality would be losing their little lives before that he could even reach their commander. The captain was drenched in cold sweat. Now the only life-saving possibility lay in their commander. That he would send for others to find them if they failed to report to him. Otherwise, they would die at the hands of this demon tonight. Even if they could save themselves, for such a situation to occur they most definitely would have to take responsibility regardless of the end result. In short, they were in deep. Fortunately their prayers were heard. Receiving no reply, the golden-scaled guard's commander frowned. What's going on? Where did they all go? Go, take a few people and see what the 3rd Squadron is doing. 5 golden-scaled guards marched into Clearflower Palace. Waiting side by side, the commander's heart burned more and more ragefully as time lapsed on. Today they really met with a ghost. The normally impregnable royal treasury had been breached today. Furthermore, that thief was so cunning. Even the imperial tutor had personally stepped out to help, but still failed to capture him. After that, he had sneaked into the royal palace. With the imperial tutor and golden-scaled guards working in cooperation, they were certain of smoking out that heaven-reaching courageous thief. Grinding his bones to dust. The commander did not feel that this task would be too difficult. Since the target was within the confines of the royal palace, they would not be able to find him. However, after searching all the palaces, pavilions and rooms, the result was still nothing. Instead, they had captured quite a few secret lovers within the palace and people acting as the dog to steal the chicken-type things. If this went on, how were they going to explain to the imperial tutor? While the third squadron was even better. They had disregarded his commands and gone off to God knows where to fish. Once he found that bastard, he would use martial law to deal with them. This would serve as a warning for others in the future. Pacing about, the commander waited a bit more at the door. After a while, he realized that something was not quite right. The 5 guards he had sent in also disappeared without a sound into Clearflower Palace. Devoid of any noise, it appeared to be as quiet and tranquil as any other night. You can also listen on. This was far too unusual. Although Clearflower Palace was large, with the defensive profound realm cultivations of those guards, they would only need the time it takes to have a cup of tea to run a full lap. If they were delayed, they could at least send someone to explain the situation, right? Besides, if there were any incidents, sounds of shouting and fighting would be heard. As his brows furrowed deeper, he became more alert. Could it be something had happened in Clearflower Palace? At this point, apart from the 3rd squadron, the remaining squadrons had all returned. He waved his hand to command them to follow behind him and personally led them into Clearflower Pavilion for investigation. With hundreds of people rushing majestically into the Clearflower Palace, someone quickly pointed out a finger and shouted out. They had only entered the first hall. Commander, that is, they are the ones who had just, lying on the corridor ground, the few golden-scaled guards who were sent out for patrol lay on the ground lifelessly. What? Face sinking, they walked quickly to the front to see a door half open near the end of the corridor. Witnessing the situation inside the room, eyeballs nearly dropped out of their sockets. They only saw the iron-blooded and powerful golden-scaled guards kneeling side by side inside the room. They did not dare to rise, dead corpses lay in piles of blood around them. Who was it? To actually dare to commit such a vile deed in the palace. In a fit of anger, the commander kicked open the room and charged inside. When he entered, he saw his subordinates kneeling on the ground and became angrier. He kicked out once again. Get up for me. What are you kneeling for? You are the Emperor's golden-scaled guards. And these few, who wounded them? Where are they? Covered with cold sweat, the squadron captain did not dare to rise. Shifting his line of sight, the commander's gaze landed on the male-female pair reclining on the imperial consort's bed. Leaning lazily on the bed was a man dressed in a black robe and mask. The lines of his jaw here slightly raised, emphasizing his ethereal and arrogant aura. Appearing to be above the masses. As he supported his head in one hand, his other hand was wrapped around a petite girl intimately. Leaning in, he smelled her hair's fragrance. This scene really looked like a noble young master seeking pleasure in his own room. Unfortunately, with the various overbearing and injured golden-scaled guards lying around, the Lord Owner's attitude did not suit the scene. One party was filled with murderous intent, while the other acted as they pleased without placing the other party in their eyes. When the commander saw the man's bearing, he couldn't help but feel apprehensive. But he was a master at the 8th level of the Spirit Profound Realm, one of the top 10 figure within South U. Furthermore, he was quite a powerful figure in the surrounding countries as well. Despite the man's mysterious origins, the commander did not feel the need to be afraid of him. Is it you who hurt my subordinates? Your hands are very vicious, not only have you broken their limbs, but also, insane and ridiculous. He snapped out. The Lord Owner responded coldly, daring to molest my woman, this punishment is far from enough. Contrary to his expectations, this man did not become fearful from his impressive cultivation and fame. In fact, he returned with contemptuous eyes. Chuckling sarcastically, "Humph! What audacity! Not only have you trespassed into the palace, you also wounded so many golden-scaled guards. Do not dream of leaving here today. Come and arrest him for me. You can also listen on." Immediately after he concluded his words, the golden-scaled guards behind him moved to encircle the pair. When they saw their fallen comrade on the grounds, they all became vigilant and knew that this man was not an easy opponent. They decided to go all out from the very beginning. The commander himself also struck out. Using a secret move, his gale-like palm cut through the air and towards the Lord Owner's abdomen. All the while, Wang Yuli had continued her struggles against the man's iron cage grip. But as soon as the commander and his guards entered the room, she ceased all resistance and quietly sat on the man's lap to watch the show. She had already told the man not to create such a big fuss, to escape in the confusion. But who could predict this damn man would, against all expectations, go against her warnings, making the problem larger and larger. Now look at the result. The commander of these guards had also arrived. Mostly likely after he had been hacked in half, she predicted that the imperial tutor would make an entrance. She really wanted to see how this man would solve that. Did he intend to slaughter every person within the royal palace? And because her heart took joy in other people's sufferings, Wang Yuli forgot all about struggling. A smirk rising on her face, her crafty eyes shone with light. Trapped in the man's embrace, she nearly forgot the circumstances she, herself was in. Although the golden-scaled guards were all in the defensive profound realm, they cultivated a group attack formation. When this was activated by numerous people, the end result could be able to barely contend with a powerhouse at the fourth stage, the Dan profound realm. This immense profound energy charged towards the pair sitting on the imperial consort's bed. In a moment, it would explode out at them. But an icy gleam passed through the man's eyes. Tightening his grip on the little fox within his arms, he leaned back with ease. He did not resist in the slightest. Watching his reaction, the commander felt pleased. Although this man appeared mysterious, there would still be a limit to his strength. He simply could not go against this combined assault. This reaction of his is probably from shock. But this was good. For this affair to reach such a degree, he had been quite worried about possible demotion. But these worries seemed needless. As long as he could capture this man and bring him to the imperial tutor, he could at least present him with some sort of explanation. As for whether or not he was the little thief that the imperial tutor spoke of or an adulterous affair, it did not seem to matter. After all, his actions had been very suspicious. In the instant the commander's raging palm was about to land on the man, the Lord Owners finally pursed his lips. "Audacious!" he growled out. This voice was not loud and sounded cold as ice, but that single word embodied boundless might. Following his crisp articulation, an incomparably immense and irresistible pressure descended down onto the room. For the people in the room, it was like they all had to suddenly carry a load of 10,000 jin on their shoulders. Not only was it heavy, it also stopped them from raising their heads. Swiftly after that, the commander felt a large suction force. Unable to react in time, he was sent flying out of the room and crashed through the wall. Rolling in the stone and rubble, he finally landed in the corridor. He deserved his cultivation of the 8th level of the spirit profound realm. In spite of the heavy injuries, spitting out mouthfuls of blood, he could still manage to pick himself up from the ground. Clutching his stomach, terror filled his entire face. This man, just from saying one word, he was able to completely reflect his profound skill back to him. You must know that ones who attacked were not any Dick, Tom or Harry cultivators. One was a genuine 8th-level spirit profound realm cultivator, and the rest were a group of golden scaled guards whose combined force equaled a damn profound realm cultivator. This strength, just too horrifying. Even the Imperial Tutor himself would not be able to accomplish this. /NU can also listen on. Just what background did this man come from? And why did he come to the tiny country of South U? Ice cold, the commander kneeled in trembling fright. He finally realized one thing: they have provoked a star of calamity. This affair could not end well. Heavily smashing his head on the ground, his voice wavered as he asked, "This subordinate has eyes but failed to see and offended this great lord. This one begs for this lord's forgiveness." Sweeping his eyes over him, the Lord Owner replied with indifference, "Your actions of maintaining order within the royal palace, although lacking, still displays your loyalty. This seat does not hold any intentions of blame." Speaking those words, Huang Yuli opened her eyes wide in shock. Sitting on his lap, she did not dare believe it. Why is he joking around? Although these golden-scaled guards were completing their assigned work, the fact remained that they had still moved against the Lord Owner. This man could not be considered a person with a good temper, nothing say about being a generous and forgiving person. Yet he actually said he did not blame them. Did he change personalities? Eat the wrong medication today? Or could it be, he was plotting something? Astonished by the turn of events, the commander wholly did not expect such a fiendish master would be so easy to talk to. He quickly nodded his head a few times and then carefully said, "Thank you, great lord, many thanks. May I dare ask for your esteemed name? Your late night visit to South U, is there any need for this one service?" Silence ensued in the room. Trembling with trepidation, he looked over. This quickly followed with great alarm. In slow and unhurried movements, the man released his hold on Huang Yuli. In front of everyone present, his slender arm then raised up towards his forehead to take off that silver mask from his face. In a flash, an unmatched and handsome face revealed itself for all to see. He possessed a pair of eyes that overflowed with light and color. But those eyes, which should be filled with warmth, were instead filled with an icy and awe-inspiring chill. A light sweep from them would cause the receiver to uncontrollably shiver. While his skin was as smooth and pale as jade. His eyebrows like swords, the bridge of his nose stick out straight, and his tender lips were like most perfect and beautiful work of art. You could not point out any flaw. What was the most astonishing was that aura of innate respect he entire being eluded from his body. Looking at that youthful face, he did not seem to be past 20. Speaking reluctantly, he was only a youth. But through his simple action of sitting, his domineering aura already established the fact that he was an exceptional master. They could only follow behind to see the traces of this rider's dust. And that face, the commander seemed to have some impression. After the initial stage of shock had passed, the commander kneeled down again in great reverence. Your Highness, when did you return to the palace? When this king returns, does he need to report to you? The man frostily asked. No, this lowly does not have that meaning. It's just, your return is large news for the palace. If we were informed earlier of your return, the emperor would definitely arrange for people to go and greet you. And this lowly one would not dare recklessly send people to trespass into your clear flower palace, so if this king is not here, you dare enter? No, this lowly one does not dare. Smashing his head vigorously into the ground, the commander did not even dare to breathe too loudly. He already felt that there were already hundreds of things he did wrong. Stammeringly for half the night, he nearly bit off his own tongue. Never in his wildest dreams did he think the owner, His Highness, of Clearflower Palace would return tonight. Furthermore, he had personally dealt so mercilessly with the golden-scaled guards. You can also listen on. How could this be? Since when did His Highness gain such formidable strength? Did he not possess a physique that could not cultivate in weak health? Was it not said that he would kick the bucket at any given time? But how would they explain the events that had passed tonight? Was he dreaming, or is he looking at a ghost? It was quite evident that the man knew what he was thinking, so he coldly sneered. This king originally did not plan for others to learn of this king's current prowess. But to events beyond his control, someone dared speak so audaciously towards this king's little girl. Courting death. Listening to the dialogue between the two, the remaining golden-scaled guards could more or less guess the identity of this man. Hearing those words, they hastily began to beg for forgiveness. "Please spare our lives, Your Highness, spare our lives, Your Highness. These slaves have eyes but failed to recognize the pearls." The sounds of heads hitting the ground soon rang within the room. It created a strange atmosphere. As they kowtowed, the guards also whispered in their hearts. God knew, the little girl within His Highness' embrace still smelled of her mother's milk. Not matter how you looked, she was not a beauty and she could easily be mistaken as a palace maid. Who would expect His Highness' tastes were this peculiar? This king's little girl, this king wouldn't even dare to touch a single hair on her normally. Yet you dared to joke around for her to go play around with you. How will you play? Killing you still would not be able to eliminate the negative feelings in this king's heart. Listening to his words, the golden-scaled guards turned mute from fright. If this man really was the rumored weak-bodied highness, despite his personality being the same as the rumors, pleading for mercy would still be possible. After all, even the crown prince wouldn't dare to massacre the entirety of the golden-scaled guards. However, they had all witnessed his cruelty and fierceness. So apart from reverence, they all felt a great sense of fear from this man. In the face of such absolute domination, he did not need to put anyone in his eyes. If he wished to kill, who in South you could obstruct him? Thinking to this point, a shiver ran through the commander's body. The only reason why His Highness the Crown Prince could sit firmly in his position of Crown Prince was not because he was the firstborn prince. The main reason lay in the fact that he was the #1 talent of South U. Only with his strong cultivation was he able to sit stably above the rest of his brothers. While this highness who was sitting in front of them, had unknowingly become such a frightening existence. When he thought about the rumors regarding His Highness, the commander couldn't help but become astounded. The Crown Prince's position, will he able to maintain it? The man turned a deaf ear to the pleading of the guards. Instead, he turned his attention to the little fox beside him. What he discovered was her unrelenting and fixated gaze towards him. Her eyes could not conceal her shock. Blinking her eyes repeatedly, she received no small amount of damage. The usually confident little fox, to be able to display such expression, deeply pleased him. The corners of his mouth rising into a large smile, laughter blossomed and flew out from that handsome face. It was capable of melting all ice and snow. Within his frosty eyes, radiance lit up those peach eyes. All coldness was eliminated and replaced with great sexiness. This kind of laugh, if witnessed by any young girl, would dye their cheeks bright red. They would be instantly bewitched by him, as they prostrated themselves in front of his long, black robes. When Huang Yuli saw his smile, more astonishment leaked out. And she became stiffer than ever before. In such circumstances, it caused the man to feel so very comfortable from start to finish. In a great mood, the raging fire within his eyes had decreased by more than half. Turning his head back around, he responded back to the prostrating commander. This king did not wish to reveal his strength, but was forced to by your actions, you say. Should this king not silence you all? You can also listen on. "Spare us, your highness, spare our lives, your highness. This one will definitely guard his mouth closely. Even if beaten to death, I will not say anything." As cold sweat trickled down his forehead, the commander lamented on his bad fortune. Only the heavens knew the reason behind his highness' concealment of his cultivation. Was he purposely going against the emperor? Then they would not have any road of survival. That was the cost of breaking his secret. After the extended period of time the commander spent with the bureaucrats, his mind had become quite agile. Hit by a sudden spark of inspiration, he suddenly spoke out, "Your Highness, since you have just returned to the country, there must be many things you still need people to complete for you. If you are willingly to spare this one's life, then this one will be willing to devote myself along with the entirety of my golden-scaled guards to you." That's right. This subordinate will willingly to serve his highness. This subordinate is willingly to swear my loyalty. The rest of the guards had recovered themselves. In order to save their lives, they pounded their chests, swearing their loyalty. Indifferent to their proclamations, the man did not reply. Waiting until they had all shut up from impatience, the man began to speak in a slow, unhurried tone. "Spirit profound realm 8th level, your strength is only so-so. If it weren't because this king is lacking in manpower, then you wouldn't even be fit to be my slaves." For an expert who considered themselves quite highly, to be blatantly despised like so caused the commander to feel quite aggrieved. But he did not dare show any sign of discontent. "This one is greatly indebted to his highness, for your high regard. This lowly one will definitely spare no effort, however, this king not necessarily trust you. Since you are determined to come under this king, then you must all receive a spirit imprint. Officially becoming servants of this king." What? Still in shock, the commander could not reply in confidence. Accepting the spirit imprint meant that their very souls would be under the control of another. A single order from them could not be resisted in the slightest. Otherwise, a single raise of the owner's hand would be capable of extinguishing their lives. The commander of the golden-scaled guards held quite a bit of fame within South U. That year when the crown prince wished to become friends with him, he had delivered various gifts and treats, treating him like an esteemed guest. But how was he to know that this highness sitting in front of him saw him no differently from a slave? He actually intended to use him like a puppet. A face filled with unwilling, he hurriedly clasped his hands together. The man's voice coldly sounded, "Or you would prefer to die now?" When given the choice between life and death, the commander had no choice. He could only become a puppet for this powerfully terrifying man, accepting him as his life master. While for the man, to be able to accept that commander as a servant was already showing him great grace. As for the rest of the golden-scaled guards, they did not enter his eyes. Casually, he took out some pills and instructed them to swallow. This scarlet pill was a corpse worm pill. Once taken, one needed to take in the antidote at regular intervals. If they did not, the poison would flare up, resulting blood dripping out from the 7 orifices, dying painfully. Completing all these tasks, he impatiently waved his hands. "Throw those who spoke disrespectfully to the imperial concubine into the manure pit. The rest can leave." With great difficulty, the golden-scaled had waited for those words. Hearing those commands, they rushed out the door in succession. Waiting until all unrelated personnel had left the room, the Lord Owner finally turned his gaze back onto the little fox. The girl next to him had still maintained that dumbstruck expression. Her eyes constantly went up and down, looking at him strangely. Raising his eyebrow, the Lord Owner felt this was quite unexpected. Today, his family's little thing was too unusual. Just then, he felt that something was fishy. You can also listen on. Usually, what this little fox loved to do more than anything in the world was to swindle others. Since these golden-scaled guards had offended her today, it would be reasonable to expect her to swindle every single thing from them, not even leaving their pants behind. But what was the result? Even when the events were all dealt with, she continued to remain silent. Every time the little fox was in his arms, she was usually in a high-strung state. Currently, her little hands were clutching onto his sleeves as she stared intently at him. This kind of well-behaved attitude was cute, but the man did not feel too accustomed. He couldn't have turned into a masochist by this little girl. Hooking his lips, he laughed and whispered into her ear, "Little girl, this seat knows that he has unparalleled looks, but you don't need to stare at me so frankly. After all, we are sitting on the bedside. If you are like this seat will not be able to help himself and do some immortal things. Or perhaps you actually await such things." Huang Yuli bit her lips and blinked, still possessing that Adelos expression. Her face, which was originally both clever and adorable, when coupled with her rare exposed look of innocence, struck a direct blow towards the man's heart. If it weren't for the feeling of wrongness, he predicted that he would have long held her chin down to kiss her. But with this situation, did the little thing become possessed? Usually speaking, if he said such things, this little fox would be in a rush to beat him, no? While her current blank expression allowed for free molestation. Could it be, seeing his true appearance and identity, had surprised her to this degree? In reality, Huang Yuli was very surprised, very surprised. Or better words, shocked beyond belief. When the Lord owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion took off his mask to reveal that devilishly handsome face, she felt her entire body stiffen instantly. Her breathing had ceased, and her heartbeat reducing by half. Because he really looked too similar. From that first glance, Huang Yuli thought she was looking at Mu Qingying. The legend said that the Tianling continent's most powerful expert, chief of the 10 great handsome males of Sky Emperor City, and the sovereign of the Blue Profound sect, the #1 sect of the 7 great hidden sacred grounds. But similarly, in her moment of life and death, he had disregarded everything to come and save her. Towards her, he was the most sincere man. In the moment that mask was shed, Huang Yuli fell into complete loss. Concerning the Lord Owner's shots, his dealing with the golden-scaled guards, Huang Yuli only felt them vaguely pass by. She could not feel anything. Many past memories and feeling floated in her mind, striking her to the point of collapse. She recalled the numerous times the two people had missed each other, the countless misunderstandings. Up until the very end, when she thought he would no longer leave any more traces of himself in this world, did she discover? Hey, little thing, do not scare me. You haven't truly been possessed. Or did my profound chi hurt you? As the sounds of an anxious man sounded in her ears, a pair of beautiful large hands forcefully patted her white cheeks. Suddenly regaining self of herself, Huang Yuli shook her head. Finally she was aware of her surroundings. Within her pair of shiny dark peach eyes, her heart shuddered. She realized that she had not looked closely enough. And now, the distance between the two was only a CUN apart. You can also listen on. Awaking from the illusions of her past life, she began to observe him. After a short while, she realized that the man in front of her was in fact not that alike to the man within her memories. In terms of looks, the Thousand Treasure Pavilion master was more delicate and refined, with skin smooth like jade and gentle brows. Mu Qingying, on the other hand, possessed a more pure type of male handsomeness. The gap was very large. What was more important was the usually strong and overbearing Thousand Treasure Pavilion owner was only about 20 years of age, give or take. This was the age between a young boy and a young man. Too young and too handsome. It was no wonder he wanted to cover his face. He was mostly likely very worried about his age and looks. This would cause others to make light, unable to portray his strong expert aura. But Mu Qingning had already become a real man, becoming famous long ago. Overlording over the 4 great regions, invincible in this world. Although his peerlessly handsome look caused many to drool during his younger years, but in the period before Huang Yuli died, there was no longer anyone who dared provoke him. That face, no matter how good it looked, in the eyes of many people, it was only a nightmare that would appear during the middle of the night to scare you. So the two people, in fact, really did not look alike at all. It was just that pair of eyes are really much too similar. Obviously yearning for affection, able to tempt any woman with those peach-shaped eyes. But unfortunately, they were filled with a biting chill. A slight glimpse would cause the viewer to experience the frostiness within. However, those frosty eyes would instantly melt in the face of his beloved woman. Such a look, really too alike. Staring at that pair of eyes, Huang Yuli gently sighed out after a while. Did she mistake him due to that pair of eyes? In the end, they are two different people. Just what possessed her to confuse the two people? Could it be she missed Mu Qingning that much? When the Thousand Treasure Pavilion owner saw her misty eyes and deep sigh, like she was reminiscing something, alarm bells began to ring in his heart. Although he did not know what this little thing was looking at, thinking, he still felt a clear sense of crisis. Though she was looking in his direction, her gaze traveled through him to look at something far, far away. Little thing, why are you staring blankly for? If you continue to look at this seat will kiss you. He slowly leaned over, closing the distance further until the two could feel the other part's hot breath. Suddenly, Huang Yuli pushed him abruptly. The man did not think she would resist, so that sudden push forced him away. Leaving his side, Huang Yuli then stood up. When she recalled Mu Qingning and her past, she could not bear to be so close with other men. The man's face was a little gloomy. Little thing, what do you mean? Once out of danger, you push this seat aside when you have finished using me. Just now. It was you who took the initiative to kiss this seat. It wasn't just once or twice that this little fox had pushed him away. However, the relationship between the two obviously had improved. Especially during the time when the golden-scaled guards had forced themselves into the room. In order to escape, this little thing took the initiative to push him down to kiss him. Even if her original intention was not to be affectionate with him, but she still chose such an action. At the very least, she did not hate contact with him, her inner defenses somewhat lowered. But now, when the obstacles had removed themselves, this little girl stared at him for half a day. Quite obviously, she was attracted to his face. You can also listen on. The situation was good and the atmosphere ambiguous. So the Lord Owner wished to take advantage and attack, becoming more intimate with this little fox who adored escaping. It would be best if he could capture her heart with tactics like a beautiful man. And from the looks, it seemed that Huang Yuli was attracted to him. Her eyes misting, body softening and showing no signs of resistance. But who knew, just as he wanted to come and do something, she suddenly, relentlessly pushed him away. Because Huang Yuli's heart was a mess, she could not spare any more time or energy with him. Without much thought, she threw out those words, "This is just an unpredicted variable. Regardless of the person here, I would have still kissed him. Don't you misunderstand?" Misunderstand? Do you mean to say that this is all a misunderstanding? Wrinkling his eyebrows, the gentle light within his eyes gradually disappeared and coldness re-enveloped them. Feeling oppressive aura, Huang Yuli couldn't help but take a step back. If not, what else would it be? The girl gently raised her chin to stare at the front of the man, the attitude furthering the distance between their respective statuses. This attitude deeply angered the man. He could not believe that, in such a short moment, her attitude had a 180-degree turn. God knew, when she took the initiative to kiss him, his mood soared up high. When she had kissed him, the arm that was hoping her down was trembling non-stop. And when the cunning little fox stared into his face in a daze, he really thought that this handsome face, which had previously mesmerized countless high-society young ladies, also captured that girl's heart. As a result, his heart secretly leapt in endless joy. Even those golden-scaled guards who committed such grave mistakes, he did not bother to care too much. All he wished to do was to send them away as soon as possible and properly tease this little thing. But who knew? Was it really just him who assumed his love had been reciprocated? This man had always possessed a high standing, rarely suffering setbacks. This was especially the case for the numerous women surrounding him. Occasionally, when his gaze lingered around them or even a slight smile would cause these young ladies to fall into a frenzy, unable to sleep for nights. And this little girl. So devoted he was, yet she was still playing with him. Gloomy-faced, he slowly approached retreating Huang Yuli, forced backwards. Huang Yuli's back soon touched the wall. She knew that the man was angry. Those familiar peach eyes showing both love and hate, and complex emotions of a damaged self-esteem. All these felt so familiar. Those were the kind of emotions she used to see from Mu Qingying's eyes. Her delicate eyebrows frowning, she tried to reason with the man. You, don't be impulsive. First listen to me, I really do not have that kind of feelings towards you, do you understand? Things like love cannot be forced. When her small and bright lips were pursed together, they looked particularly attractive. But the words she spat out were enough to drive him crazy. In that moment, all reason seemed to have left him. One handing landing on Huang Yuli's shoulder, he heavily threw her onto the wall. The girl's chin was forced up to meet the man's thin cold lips. In a fit of blazing anger, her roughly sealed her lips. Coarsely, he fiercely kissed her. Or possibly, this was not so much a kiss. It more closely was an angry ravage as the man vented his anger. Pressing hard on the girl's lip, his tongue eagerly slid inside. You can also listen on. Yet Huang Yuli continued to purse her lip and clench her jaw. She did not allow for many more opportunities for him to close in further. More viciousness flared up in the man's heart. He directly bit down on her lip, cutting open her lip. Ah! Huang Yuli cried out in a smothered voice. When he heard her weak groan and smelled the scent of her blood, seemingly becoming more excited. Wantonly, his tongue charged into her mouth and began to unrelentlessly move about. Suddenly, the man's eyes opened wide. Looking down, he didn't dare believe his eyes. In a fit of desperation, Huang Yuli had kicked his lower body. Not only did she kick out, she had used a special martial skill. Usually speaking, such attacks would have no possibility of landing on himself. But his emotions and state of mind were too angered. All of his attention had been captured by that metallic smell of blood, he could not spare attention elsewhere. And what made him even more stifled, were this little girl's lips. Her lips were like drugs, trying it once and you would become addicted. The moment he touched those soft lips, that kind of ecstasy-like feeling caused him to want to taste them again and again, unable to stop. All other considerations were thrown to the back of his mind. As a result, he was heavily hit by her strike. How plentiful was Huang Yuli's battle experience. Striking out the moment he was in a daze, she quickly escaped from his clutches. I really am sorry, but, subconsciously she bit her bottom lip, but did not realize her lip had been cut by the man. Due to this, the action caused a wave of pain to flood through her. The man in front of her immediately straightened his back. So, without saying a word more, her feet pushed off the ground. Utilizing a profound skill, she flew away and into the corridor. Although Huang Yuli's strike was very sharp and to the point, there was a limit to her strength. Instead of saying she had seriously injured the man to escape, it was more appropriate to say the man was much too shocked. Which allowed her the chance to escape. When she was escaping out the room, the man had already suppressed the pain and was capable to acting out again. The current him held thousands, hundreds of methods to tie down this little fox. No matter what background she possessed, what kind of bizarre techniques and treacherous astuteness, even absolute black-level profound power, she was no match for this man. But he had forcefully controlled himself and did not go to hinder her. Leaning on the door frame, he watched that slender figure dash out of the palace doorway like a floating cloud. Tightly clenching his teeth, the man's peach eyes no longer held any trace of a smile. On his handsome face was a distorted expression. Smashing his fist heavily on the nearby wall, the entire palace trembled with him. By Roali, you just can't put me in your eyes. What do you want me to do? He really wished he could chase after her, but he forcibly controlled his urges. He had always been a target countless females aimed to obtain. He naturally would have his own sense of arrogance and pride. Actions as to deliberately try to woo a girl and make her happy had long surpassed his imagination. Yet time and time again, he was unable to control himself. He dearly wished to treat Huang Yuli very well, very well. This kind of impulsiveness was like a mission originating deep from within his soul. No matter how hard he tried, he could not keep it under control. It was like he was under a spell. But this girl was just too vicious. She simply did not put any of his actions in her eyes. All of his doing, his feelings, she completely disregarded. While he grinded his teeth a bit, and told himself that if he were to chase her this time, he would be the lowly one. You can also listen on. Running out of Clear Flower Palace, Huang Yuli saw that the man did not chase after her. Loosening a sigh of relief, she pushed down the rising sadness. Taking out the cloak, she covered up her face again. Due to the man's intervention, the golden scaled had all been recalled back. Hence peace returned to the palace grounds, with only the occasional ordinary patrol guard walking by. These would not be able to hinder Huang Yuli. Without meeting anything unexpected, she safely returned to her back courtyard. By then, the first rays of sun were beginning to peek over the horizon. Lying restlessly on the bed facing the sunshine, Huang Yuli could not fall asleep, even though she felt extremely fatigued. Too many events had occurred on this one night. One after the other, each catching her off guard. Since the day she began to become more familiar with the owner of Thousand Treasure Pavilion, she had been quite curious about his appearance under that mask. But when she saw his true appearance, she did not expect such a large reaction of shock. Huang Yuli concluded that it was due to her fatigue, resulting in her unusual actions. Due to that, was she so astounded by that pair of eyes and connected them to Mu Qingying. Thinking over it again, apart from that pair of peach eyes, the Thousand Treasure Pavilion owner and Mu Qingying shared no other common features. Of course, the two people's powerful and domineering styles were exactly the same. But on the same note, youths who possessed such talent, it would be quite natural for them to be this arrogant. Therefore, it was logical for her to make a mistake. Or could it be, she missed that man too much? Turning restlessly on the bed, Huang Yuli's heart was a mess. It was filled with the feelings of anxiety tinged with sourness. In these past days, ever since her fall at the Northern Ice region to her rebirth in South Yu, too many things had occurred. She had constantly been occupied by various affairs, unable to spare any time for unrealistic thoughts or indulgences. No, it would be more appropriate to say that she purposely busied herself. Only then was she able to not be hurt by her wounds. Only then was she able to forget about the events of her past life. Not thinking about them, that man. In truth, before she prepared to travel to the Northern Ice region, Mu Qingying had warned her that the immortal Ling sect's eldest young lady, Ling Qingyu had been acting very suspiciously as of late. He reminded her to be careful and to not leave the fire palace. But Huang Yuli continued to be extremely trusting of her close friend, and felt he was too suspicious. As a result, she continued to move forward with her original plans, heading out for the northern ice region. She did not predict that her final resting place would be there. In her past life, her goal was set on reaching the peak of the martial way, her heart like iron and stone. Even though countless outstanding geniuses had prostrated themselves at her feet, she did not give them a second thought. She did not hold any intention to become close with any particular person. While Mu Qingming, on the other hand, due to his abundant ego, did not think twice about Huang Yuli's numerous refusals. Allowing no explanation, occupying the position next to her. He used both the carrot and the stick to melt her icy heart, adamant for her to return his feelings. For Huang Yuli, who had never experienced love, these emotional feelings were a frightening thing. With such powerful emotions, it caused her to feel enormous anxiety and perplexation instead. Adding on the fact that many females surrounded him. So in order to catch her attention, he created many misunderstandings. So whenever the two made some progress, these misunderstandings only served for the two to drift further apart. From beginning to end, they were unable to be together. All the way until the final moments of her life, when she saw Mu Qingming, who was willingly to sacrifice his life for her, did she realize it. This man before her never tried to cover up his feelings for her, it was she who was too cowardly. She had long fallen under his domineering yet tender traps, unable to crawl back out. You can also listen on. It was unfortunate though. By the time Huang Yuli realized this point, she had walked to the end of her life. And for the matter of her soul combustion, she might have never been able to enter the circle of reincarnation, never to be reborn. To completely disappear from this world. The fate between two people, before it could blossom into a flower, they suddenly reached the end. In that instant, the intense feelings of regret, remorse, pity and helplessness nearly tore her apart. She could go as far to say, the immense pain that came from the explosion felt like nothing. This despair continued to linger in the depths of her heart. Whenever she recalled the event, all sorts of aching heartstrings were pulled. However, when she was wallowing in her despair, a sudden and unexpected thing happened. She actually was reborn into the body of Bai Ruoli, becoming the second young miss of Wu Wei Manor in South Yu. This event was just too strange. To blow up one's dantian, there was only result, immediately dissipating into nothingness. For any practitioner, this was common knowledge. For the circumstances at the time, Huang Yuli was 100% certain of her death. She had never cultivated a secret manual, so she possessed no heaven-defying methods. So, the scattering of her soul should have been set in stone. Just how was she reborn? This question remained lingering and unsolved. There was a high possibility of an answer never existing. Nonetheless, to be given the opportunity to be reborn, able to relive her life once more, caused her to feel endlessly grateful towards the heavens. There are many unfinished things she needed to do, and she needed to restart her cultivation to return to her peak. She also needed to seek judgment for the people who wronged her. And if it was possible, she would like to return to that man's side once more to tell him she fell in love within from a very long time ago. Creasing her eyebrows, Huang Yuli lay on the bed thinking about the thousands of what-ifs. She wondered what Mu Qingming was doing now. When she was reborn, the calendar showed it was already the 13,764 year of the Tianling calendar. While the year she denoted her dantian was the year 13750. In other words, 14 years had passed in her period of muddleness. She could imagine the grief and sadness Mu Qingming experienced at the point of her death. Towards this point, she held no doubt about that. But, 14 years have passed. Would the current him still miss her? After all, the tea will cool once the person leaves. The period of 14 years towards the 1,000-year-long lifespan of an emperor profound realm practitioner, is but a fleeting experience. Adding on to the adored Mu Qingying, the amount of females which surrounded were much too many. If he recovered from his scars and forgot about her, this does not seem unlikely. When her thoughts traveled to this point, Huang Yuli felt as if needles were stabbing her. She was in so much pain that she nearly leapt up. No, it wouldn't be. It can't be. Huang Yuli grinded her teeth. If he dared to go off like that, watch me cut that part of him into 8-10 pieces. If he wishes to commit crimes in the future, he will be unable to. Slapping her cheeks, her wild imaginations finally knocked her out. Too despicable. Such a backwater place like South Yu, for an expert like Mu Qingying who always liked to adventure for secrets, it would be impossible to obtain any information about him. Unable to put on at ease. Huang Yuli leapt up from the bed. This can't do. I must make all haste and quickly cultivate and return to my peak as soon as possible. I cannot allow for that sly fox to swoop and take advantage. You can also listen on. Because she thought to this point, she could delay no longer. Not caring about whether or not the sun had risen, she went to rouse the sleeping Kai Wei. Under the sleepy and unfocused gaze of Kai Wei's, Huang Yuli informed her that she wished to enter a period of closed cultivation. She also said that no one was to disturb during this time. Delivering her words, she immediately sealed herself in her room. In the 9 Phoenix transformations, there was a pill recipe written inside. The various herbs she had collected would form a 6th-grade pill. Only then would the medicinal properties be fully put to use. Unfortunately, Huang Yuli was not a pill master. And it was impossible for her to seek out a high-leveled alchemist in South Yu. So she could only settle for the next best option. Fortunately, the little phoenix informed her of an alternative method. As long as she placed these herbs into a basin of hot water and soak in it, it would allow for the medicinal properties to stimulate her flame spirit physique. And the end result was not too different than consuming a pill. So an immense tub was placed within her room. The various herbs were already arranged as the manual specified. Quietly Huang Yuli said, "Wang Kai, light the fire." Furiously the little phoenix sneakily ate half of the drumstick. Then from the windowsill, he inhaled a large breath. This action caused his fluffy body to swell up, looking more like a fluffy ball. Afterwards, he used all his power to blow out a puff of true phoenix flame. As the flames ignited below the tub, it furiously started to burn, lighting up brightly. Immediately after that, Huang Yuli crushed the flame cloud pearl and scattered it into the water. This would act as a guide for the rest of the herbs. This scattering caused the tub's water to instantly turn a blood red in color. When this was paired with the gradual boiling and bubbling of the water, the blood-red water seemed a bit frightening. Shedding off her clothes, Huang Yuli jumped unhesitatingly into the waters. Hot. So hot. This was her first reaction. Then, the searing hot sensation entered into her bloodstreams and to her 5 bodily organs. This intense pain racked her entire body as she lay there trembling. But she clenched her teeth, refusing to make a sound as she endured the pain. This bath was really hot. It did not help with all their herbs being fire attributed as well on the phoenix true flame. If any ordinary person were to sit in this medicinal bath, their body would become badly mutilated from burn instantly. It would take no more than a breath's time. But Huang Yuli possessed the flame spirit physique which enabled her to be immune to any injuries from fire-related things. Although these raging flames would be deadly for ordinary people, they are the best type of tonic for her. However, no matter how many injuries her flame spirit physique was able to block for her, Huang Yuli still needed to endure the pain and heat. As the minutes steadily passed by, Wang Yuli felt as if 100 years had gone by when in fact only a mere time it took to brew a cup of tea lapsed by. Even the little phoenix was scared by that boiling magma-like basin of water. Ignoring his most beloved drumstick, his eyes were firmly planted on Wang Yuli. Watching her soak within the bath, he couldn't help but turn into his human appearance. Even though he would constantly flaunt and praise himself as a mighty phoenix, those waters still scared him. This female wouldn't be burned to death, right? God, don't awe. With great difficulty he had recognized a master, even though she tended to tease and play with him most of the time. But she still generously fed him drumsticks to eat every day. If she were to drop dead here, then he must return to the Sky Phoenix Ring. What would he do? How many years would he have to go by without any drumsticks? Though the little phoenix was rolling around in frenzy, there was nothing he could do. During the midst of his panic, soaking in the bath motionlessly, Wang Yuli let out a long sigh. You can also listen on. As the blood-red water bubbled, the herb essences began to be gradually absorbed into Wang Yuli's body. Very quickly the basin of water became transparent like normal water, but still continued to bubble. At this point, Wang Yuli's tightly closed eyes opened, her eyes flashing a golden color. Sitting up, her mind finally became sober once more. At the same time, she felt as if her entire body had been reborn. Although the herbal essences had been absorbed into her body, turning into clear water, but the true phoenix flames continued to heat the waters. To ordinary people, it was still quite hot to the touch. However, this temperature did not make her feel any discomfort. On the contrary, she felt as if she returned to her infant days, her whole body full of vitality. It was like the power of these flames were a part of her body. Every cell in her body clamoring to obtain this power. A ghost of smile appeared on her face. So this is the flame spirit physique. It was even more amazing than her previous 9th grade fire attributed talent. She was just quietly sitting there, yet she could feel the surrounding fire elements scrambling to her direction. Waving her hand, the burning phoenix true flames flickered a bit, but did not seem to resist her too much. She easily absorbed it into her body. This female devil, squatting to the side, the little phoenix stared at this scene with an open mouth. Just now he thought that this poison-tongued woman would be cooked in the tub, almost scaring this baby to death. When he thought of this possibility, for her to open her eyes again, little Phoenix felt secretly happy for her. But out of his expectations, her next action stunned him so much that his eyes almost fell out. She actually absorbed the true Phoenix fire into her body. He didn't see wrong, did he? Although the high-leveled fire attributed practitioners could refine fires into their bodies as a means of attack. But that as the first of the top 10 fire rankings, the true Phoenix flame even in the god realm, wanting to refine the true Phoenix fire, that was something only top-level geniuses could do. As for a lower realm such like the Tianling continent, this kind of thing was simply unheard of. Although Huang Yuli currently possessed the flame spirit physique, geniuses with the flame spirit physique were not a few. Those who could obtain the true Phoenix flame in their teens, numbered 0. Besides, even if one could just barely refine it, the entire process is extremely difficult. They needed to go through all kinds of painful torments. If there are no experienced elders aiding from the side, it will be easy to go berserk. But this female devil. She waved her hand. Then, after a stiff-faced expression, Huang Yuli finally revealed a smile. Although this little ghost was usually very arrogant, it still knew to worry about his owner in key moments. Finally, those buckets of chicken legs were not bought in vain. Stinking brat, your worry over this elder sister makes her so moved. But are you not some tall and grand mythological phoenix? How are you not embarrassed by your frequent crying? Aren't you ashamed? Huang Yuli lightly teased him. Momentarily shocked, the little phoenix immediately recovered himself and jumped up angrily. You can also listen on. Who are you accusing of crying? This little lord does not cry. Humph. Small Phoenix denied this in a flustered manner, but could not help himself to feel worry. Cautiously, he touched his plump-like bun's cheeks. The result, he did not feel anything. Ha! Seeing him fall for her trick, Huang Yuli laughed out with no reservations. You played me. Discovering he had been played a fool, the little phoenix became more crazy. Female devil, why did you not burn to death? Where is the justice in the world? Laughingly, Huang Yuli replied, Oh, still small in age but already beginning to curse at others, your upbringing was really bad. Seems like this elder sister needs to educate you. You, what do you want to do? Small eyes staring at her, he subconsciously to cover his buttocks. This unconscious action caused another round of laughter to erupt from Huang Yuli. Although she had hit this little once but only once, but it was enough to scare this one. Though this cheeky lad usually portrayed a lofty attitude, in reality, he was quite timid. She can exploit this in the future. When the little phoenix saw the trace of a devilish smile, a burst of cool sweat formed on his back. Instinctively he retreated a few steps and carefully asked, Hey, female devil, the bath water is now cold, why do you not come out? Throwing him an eye roll, she replied, There is still a little effect left. I'll soak in it for a bit longer and not waste the remaining essences. At a loss, the little phoenix thought for a while before abruptly jumping up from the corner. Without much fear, he laughed out loudly. Ha ha ha, I know why. Female devil, since you are not wearing clothes, you don't dare come out. He, let this little lord tell you, in fact this little lord saw everything quite clearly. Your body is really lacking. This little lord couldn't really differentiate which side was the front and which was the back. The sight practically polluted this little lord's eyes. Assuming he held a leverage over Huang Yuli, the little phoenix immediately felt elated. In truth, he did not see anything at all. During that time, not only was he too nervous, the color of the waters were so deep. Although he did not see anything, he could not give up an opportunity to ridicule at this female devil. Usually, he was the victim to her constant scoldings and beatings, so when he saw her nervous expression, he must retaliate. After all, the female devil was not wearing any clothes. So she certainly could not jump out to catch him. Plump cheeks red from excitement, his small chin was raised as he looked at her with squinted eyes and a wide toothful grin. You could not describe his happiness. But unexpectedly, Huang Yuli smiled. Stinking brat, since you saw something you should not see, you cannot blame me for the appropriate punishments. You are now forbidden to eat your beloved chicken drumsticks. As she said this, she recovered the little phoenix back into the sky phoenix ring in one swift move. Little Phoenix did not expect this trick from her. Finding himself locked up, the little boy began to anxiously and desperately jump and scream in the jade ring. Female devil, release me. Release me. This little lord is warning you, if you dare to treat such a distinguished phoenix like this, you will be cursed. Hi, forget it. As long as you release, I will not scold you later, okay? Boo-hoo, you are so heartless, abusing even children. Not eating chicken legs for a few minutes, my waist has already slimmed. At first, he tried a harsh tone, but found that Huang Yuli did not budge. Thus he resorted to a softer tacit, but it also yielded poor results. Almost laughing out from his actions, Huang Yuli quickly disconnected her consciousness. You can also listen on. This stinking brat really needed to be taught a lesson. She did not know who he was learning from recently, but he spoke like a thug at such a young age. TSK, daring to even talk back at his master. If he continued to be like this as a child, what will he grow up to become? Suddenly, Huang Yuli recalled the scene when she first entered the Sky Phoenix Ring. Seeing that phoenix on the platform, Wang Kai seemed to say that it was his brother, a real ancient and grand phoenix. That large phoenix possessed his own charisma. Masculine. Unrestrained. Shocking. But this bad character of his, it wouldn't be heredity. Though, in summary, in order to correct this little boy's bad attitude, she must keep him under house arrest for a while. In a good mood, Huang Yuli stepped out from the tub. Putting on some clean clothes, she lazily stretched out. It had been quite a long time since she experienced the feeling of possessing strength. Her body was practically at one with the worldly energy around her. As long as she beckoned, profound chi filled her entire being with ease. Face lighting up with a smile, she pulled out 9 phoenix transformations and began to carefully read it. In order to defend against the possibility of cultivators of the 9 phoenix transformations from going berserk, she was only capable of reading the first few pages. Only when she mastered the contents in the first section, will the latter stages be unlocked. According to the instructions in the manual, since she had successfully broken through the bottleneck, she would be able to display the domineering powerful of her flame spirit physique. And since the flame spirit physique is also considered a rare and top-level talent, in terms of cultivational advantage, it was said to be overwhelming. Not only will they be naturally aligned with the fire attribute, their cultivational will also be 10 times faster than ordinary 9th grade talent. Furthermore, all possessors of the spirit physiques have, all system talent. Reading through the manual, her hands shook. This shake nearly ripped the pages. Other attributes may not be as outstanding as the fire attribute, but they would at least be 9th grade talent. Did they make a mistake? Was this manual writing nonsense? Feeling her face twitch, Wang Yuli could not believe it. This couldn't be true. Although she heard the little phoenix speak of it, that the flame spirit physique was very very rare, but, all system talent. This is too much nonsense. In her previous life, with her 9th grade fire talent and her 7th grade metal talent, she was already considered a peerless genius in the Tianling continent. With such amazing talent, she not only did she become the sole 9th tier armament master in the continent, she also successfully at the 25 years old, broke through to the 9th stage, the Emperor Profound Realm. Second only to Mu Qingying, to reach the 9th stage in her 20s. Yet this manual was telling her, the grand 9th grade talent of her previous life, was only a passing advantage that the flame spirit physique possessed in it various advantages. It was not worth mentioning at all. This. Although this book originates from the God realm, but Huang Yuli still doubted the credibility of it. If this was true, then her talent scared even herself. Oh, whether it's true or fake, I cannot waste any more time. I must quickly begin to cultivate the 9 phoenix transformations. Shaking her vigorously to rid herself of all negative thoughts and distractions, she began to read the first pages. Then, sitting cross-legged on the floor, she held her breath and recited the meditative chant. Following that, she started to absorb the profound chi around her. You can also listen on. As Huang Yuli activated the technique, before she could process anything, profound chi began to frantically surge towards her dantian. It took only an instant for her to absorb it into her body. Unceasingly, the large and powerful profound chi traveled and entered her 12 meridians. Feeling only a slight buzzing sensation in her mind, Huang Yuli sensed all her meridians had linked up. She had entered the chi profound realm. She was frightened by her own progress. That speed was just too shocking. Her previous self with her 9th grade talent, still took an entire night to successfully together all her meridians. That kind of result was already considered a very world-shaking record. For a common cultivator with 3rd to 4th grade talent, they needed to spend a year's worth of time to successfully enter the ranks of martial practitioners. While the current her used at most 2 breaths of time to reach the chi profound realm. Furthermore, before she could react and cry out in surprise, she felt the profound chi within her veins concentrate together again. Not only did it become denser, it began to increase in a frantic manner. Soon after, she felt herself break through the first level of the chi profound realm. Afterwards, the second level of the chi profound realm. 3rd level. 4th level. The increasing of profound chi seemed to have no end. Madly, it entered her body and repeatedly broke through each successive level. Sitting motionlessly on the soft mat, Huang Yuli's body began to release a faint light. And like a magnet, the heaven and earthly profound chi coalesced towards her. For other cultivators, they needed to use and think up all kinds of methods to enter a meditative state. Only by using all of their sparse profound chi, were they able to, with great difficulty, absorb the heaven and earthly profound chi into them. And if they wished to advance to the next level, they must use increased periods of time to accumulate the necessary amounts. Repeatedly trying to advance. Some even needed the support of specific pills to aid them in climbing this wall. But for Huang Yuli, she practically used no effort. No, she merely chanted the cultivation technique at the very beginning. As for the rest of the work, she did not exert any effort for the profound chi to so frantically enter into her body. Under such an aggressive profound chi assault, she passively advanced in levels. In fact, even if she wished to stop, she could not stop this advancement at all. Profound Chi Realm, 7th level. Bai Ruo Qi had started her cultivation from the age of 10. Bitterly she cultivated for 5 years, and with the aid of numerous pills was she then able to reach the profound Chi Realm's 7th level. And at such a speed, it was enough to everyone to dub the title of genius on her. This allowed her to become the most influential and powerful aristocratic daughter of South Yu. Yet, Huang Yuli used only a few breaths to catch up to her current level. Furthermore, she did not stop there. There was just no end in sight. Qi Profound Realm, 8th level. Qi Profound Realm, 9th level. In a blink of an eye, Huang Yuli reached the peak of the Qi Profound Realm. She was only a single step away from entering the defensive Profound Realm. How many countless practitioners struggled to reach this peak, yet this was right in front of her eyes. But it was at this moment did she sense of a feeling of obstruction. She did not break through into the defensive Profound Realm like a knife cutting through butter. In fact, she stopped there. Calming down after her wild absorption, Huang Yuli's eyebrows wrinkled. She did not expect such a momentum surge of profound chi was incapable of promoting her to the next realm. But this task was certainly not a simple task. Advancing to the next large stage required some time and effort. It is quite normal to suffer an obstruction. Taking in a breath of air, Huang Yuli started once again. Taking up the Ning Phoenix transformations technique, she planned of assailing and leaping straight over to the second stage. You can also listen on. Full of confidence, Huang Yuli believed that she would be able to pass without a doubt. Her body was brimming with profound chi, while all of the surrounding fire elements conjugated around her. She could clearly sense, all the changes in her system and her control over the fire element had become more fine-tuned, bending to her every will. But it was at that moment that blockage once again appeared. Failing due to a final push. What is going on? Face flushed, Huang Yuli nearly cursed out. Clearly her journey and absorption of profound chi were all very smooth. Yet she was unable to break through. What joke was this? Didn't the 9 Phoenix transformations claim to be a god-level cultivation technique? Furthermore, wasn't she some flame spirit physique? Doesn't it sound majestic? So why did she meet with a bottleneck after cultivating for such a short duration? Isn't this too unscientific? Ending her cultivation, Huang Yuli picked up the 9 Phoenix Transformation Manual and flicked through it. Under the previous writings, she discovered a new set of characters. Hurriedly she skimmed the words and stopped. Unable to believe her eyes, they widened at the discovery. Then, she reread the passage again. This time with greater attention before finally swearing out, "Crap. Such a fraudful technique. Do you need to deceive me like this? Are techniques passed down from the god realm all this abnormal?" According to the books, reaching the peak of Qi Profound Realm allowed her to advance her affinity with the fire element. Once she was able to gather all of the fire elements around her, she would have successfully learnt the first transformation of the 9 Phoenix transformations, Fire Spirit. Turns out, I have already practiced the first transformation of the 9 Phoenix transformations. I am quite fast. According to the book, it would take roughly a year for a 9th grade talent to succeed in this step. So comparatively speaking, Huang Yuli was the abnormal one. Realizing this point, she felt quite elated. But as she read further, the contents of the next portion shattered her good spirits. Although the speed of cultivation for a flame spirit physique cultivating the 9 Phoenix transformations are quite astounding, they will experience a bottleneck each time they practice a new transformation. Apart from hard work and cultivation, one also needs to gather the corresponding herbs and spirit stones to arouse one's potential. Otherwise, they would be unable to break through. Huang Yuli nearly blew her top, so the assignment of herb gathering was not a one-time thing. Every time I break through, I must gather higher-ranked herbs. This is such a scam. Will there be an end to this? Furiously, Huang Yuli threw the manual onto the tabletop. The originally happiness that came from lightning-fast advancement had now all be swept away. This is like someone who believed they had won the lotto, only to realize they could only take a portion of the money. They felt happiness at the start, only to be replaced by much more disappointment. But, Huang Yuli sat next to the bed for a while. Very quickly, she adjusted her state of mind. The more heaven-defying one's talent was, the more resources they will need. After all, the flame spirit physique is originally from the god realm. To the abnormal requirements for resources is also quite normal. This was reality that could not be changed, no matter how much she blamed and accused the heavens. What's more, she was already quite fortunate to be born with such a heaven-opposing constitution. She did not possess any qualifications for dissatisfaction. As for the future problems she will face, she could only slowly find the appropriate methods. She was the most intelligent person in the Tianlin continent and the most black-bellied female, Huang Yuli. Was there anything that would stump her? You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.